Guys, this is a lesson for Friday, November 19th. So you need to have Out of the Dust handy, and you need to open the document Nightmare. So go ahead and pause the video and have those two tabs open. Alright, so in the poem Kilauea on page 79, Billy Joe compares a dust storm to a volcanic eruption that happened in Hawaii. How are these two similar? How is the dust storm similar to a volcanic eruption? And how does Billy Joe's life resemble these natural disasters? I want you to pause the video and have some think time and think about those two questions. We're going to look at the questions for this lesson, and I want you to look and see if there are any words that are unfamiliar to you. Our essential question is, how can enduring hardship contribute to personal transformation? Our focusing question is, how does hardship alter the character's perspectives in Out of the Dust? And the content framing question is, how do stylistic devices reveal Billy Joe's changing perspective? Are there any of those words that are unfamiliar to you? Maybe this is the first time you've heard the term stylistic devices. These are techniques that authors use to help express their ideas. Some examples of stylistic devices would be metaphors, similes, personification, and symbolism. Those are the ones that we've already talked about. One we didn't really talk about that should be reviewed for you from elementary school is repetition. So here are the definitions for those three words that you may not be familiar with. The first one, stylistic devices. An example of a stylistic device is figurative language. These are literary techniques related to style. The other one is point of view. This is the position or point of view from which one views a subject. And then perspective is a person's point of view about a subject. So point of view and perspective are very similar. So in the next few lessons, we're going to analyze how the tragedy involved in Ma, how that alters or changes Billy Joe's perspective about all aspects of her life, and it impacts all her relationships. So what is repetition? Repetition is just something that's repeated over and over. So that's why I chose this picture, because it shows bananas. It's a repetition of bananas. I'm going to read the poem to you, The Accident. It's on page 60. So if you would turn to page 60 in your book, and I'm not sure what it is on the PDF, you'll just have to scroll and find, but it should be around page 60. So you can pause the video until you find it. While I read the poem, I want you to look for any examples of repetition. It doesn't have to occur immediately, like a phrase maybe at the beginning of the poem and then again at the end or in the middle. They don't have to be back to back, but see if you see any examples of repetition. The accident. I got burned bad. Daddy put a pail of kerosene next to the stove, and Ma, fixing breakfast, thinking the pail was filled with water, lifted it to make Daddy's coffee, poured it, but instead of making coffee, Ma made a rope afire. It rose up from the stove to the pail, and the kerosene burst into flames. Ma ran across the kitchen, out the porch door, screaming for Daddy. I tore after her. Then, thinking of the burning pail left behind in the bone-dry kitchen, I flew back and grabbed it, throwing it out the door. I didn't know Ma was coming back. The flaming oil splashed onto her apron, and suddenly Ma was a column of fire. I pushed her to the ground, desperate to save her, desperate to save the baby. I tried, beating out the flames with my hands. I did the best I could, but it was no good. Ma got burned bad. July 1934. Did you see any examples of repetition or the same phrase being repeated over? You may have noticed it said, I got burned bad, and Ma got burned bad. That's an example of repetition. Or, I didn't know. They're on page 61. A rope of fire, a column of fire, and desperate to save her, desperate to save the baby. Those are all examples of repetition. So your assignment is to turn to the poem Nightmare, which is just 2 poems over. In the hard copy, it's page 63. You're going to read this poem, and you're going to fill out the document that's been assigned to you. You're going to answer these questions. Number 1, what's happening in the poem? Number 2, list 3 emotions she seems to experience in the poem. Number 3, give one quote from the poem that shows one of the above emotions. Make sure you tell me which emotion that you are citing. So if you're using fear, then you need to say fear and then give me the quote to go with it, along with the page number. Number 4, what do Billy Joe's emotions reveal about her perspective or how she views the accident? Number 5, what evidence supports your answer to number 4? So what makes you have that idea based on the poem? Now, in Night Bloomer, which is another poem, pages 81 and 82, this is a hard question, and I wanted to see if you could answer it for bonus points. But in that poem, how does the cereus plant function as a symbol and reflect Billy Joe's perspective of herself? That's just a bonus. You don't have to do it, but it's a chance to earn extra credit. If you have any questions, please reach out to Ms. Maddox or myself through Remind, and we'll be more than happy to help you.